Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya.
Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya. Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya. Rama 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 Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu. With deep gratitude, we have offered our today's Nama Sankirtan, even as we would offer flowers at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. Every day, we are getting glimpses of Bhagwan's life, glimpses of experiences of the devotees. And while we go through the experiences of the devotees, we somehow get to relive that experience and make it our own. It is one thing to read about the experience of other people from a book, or you may hear from somebody, but it's totally another thing to make it your own experience, for which you need depth and preparation of mind. Now today, we shall see how Srimati Sunanda Seshadrinathan, who settled in Japan for the past 8 years nearly in Tokyo, Japan. She says right from the age of 20, she has been devoted to Shirdi Baba, and she used to read Satcharita of Shirdi Baba. Often she would get a very deep longing when she read about the life of Shirdi Baba, going about begging for food, begging for bread, she would, with longing, ask Baba, would you not come to my doorstep so that I could serve you some food? So many such very good tendencies she had developed, which is truly a sign of grace. With her longing, with the reading of Satcharita, she was going about her life. She says that she finds a lot of similarities between Shirdi Sai Baba and Yogi Ramsuratkumar. She and her husband went to Japan in 2013. And after that, it was pre-COVID period, her husband used to travel about. They have a daughter by name Rehana. So whenever he traveled away from home, they were left alone. She says in Japan, nobody speaks English. Very difficult to find people who can speak good English. And what's more, the cost of living is very high. So when the husband left on travels, she used to feel very lonely. And she so much wanted to find a job. She was left with her daughter, and this sharpened her longing. She wanted to go deep in spirituality, but that was not coming her way. She wanted to find a job, and that wasn't coming her way either. So her longing continued. And then one day, she says, she came across a video of mine where I spoke about my first experience with Bhagwan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. As she went through it, sentence by sentence, she was completely drawn to the personality, the power of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And then she came across this book, Nectar Drops. Again, she was going through it page after page after page, and her heart was aflame with thrill and joy unknown to her up till then. She says it was like a very tasty, a box of tasty chocolates in the hands of a hungry child. This is how she looked upon the Leelas of Bhagwan as she went through the book. It was almost like a lifeline to her. Now at the time, she was getting more and more drawn to the Leelas of Bhagwan, and she began to see more and more the similarities. She says, Shirdi Sai Baba smoked, and so did Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Both lived in the streets. One called himself this beggar, the other called himself this fakir. And both, we do not know if they took bath at all or how rarely they did. And they hardly changed clothes. And above all this, she had come across in Arthur Osborne's book that Shirdi Baba was an incarnation of Saint Kabir. You see, he took Mahasamadhi in October 1918, and Bhagwan was born just 2 months later on the 1st of December. That was again a very strange coincidence. Putting all together, she began to believe that they were one and the same. Shri Gyananandagiri Swami in Tapovanam, in front of a huge assembly of bhaktas, declared that Yogi Ramsuratkumar was an incarnation of Kabir. So slowly, her interest in Yogi Ramsuratkumar, her devotion to Yogi Ramsuratkumar began to grow. One day, when her daughter was just 8 years old, she went to her and said, "Why don't you chant the names of gods and Mahatmas?" Her daughter Rehana, just 8 years old, you know what she said? She said, "I will not sing any other name except Yogi Ramsuratkumar, which is the shortest and simplest." And she began to sing. Now, you can imagine the reaction of Sunanda. She says, from that day onwards, she too began to chant the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar 33 times a day. Only 33 times a day. This continued, but even these 33 times a day proved very rewarding to her, because soon there was an announcement that Mātā Amritānandamayī was visiting Japan on a 3-day tour. They soon formed a committee to welcome and organize the meeting. It was mostly Japanese. There was a volunteers meeting, and they found that there was no Indian at all. And Sunanda was already longing for service to Mahatmas. Now she thought it was her chance, and then she registered her name also. So when the Japanese volunteers found an Indian, a South Indian at that, offering her services, they were absolutely delighted. They called her and asked her whether she could prepare food for Mātā Amritānandamayī and the sannyasis who accompany her for 3 days. Morning breakfast, lunch, and also dinner. You can imagine the thrill and the joy she went through. This is exactly what she was longing for. Hadn't she prayed to Shirdi Baba, "Why wouldn't you come to my door and ask for something, some food, so that I could get the fortune of serving you?" Now this is her fortune. She said this happened only after she started chanting Yogi Ramsuratkumar name 33 times a day. For 33 times a day, such a great reward had come her way. And then she started. Her husband was very, very supportive in this. And so both the husband and wife and the child, the whole family, took the help of some of those local Indians there, and they prepared so well for the visiting Mataji. And she also had a hug every day, all the 3 days. The second day, when she was sitting there below the stage and was chanting Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama, because by now she had understood the glory of the name, and she kept chanting and chanting, watching Mataji Amritānandamayī at her darshan. And suddenly she remembered reading somewhere that Bhagwan, Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar, had mentioned that Mātā Amritānandamayī is Ma Kali. As soon as the thought came, she felt ecstatic to be able to sit in the presence of the Divine Mother. And the minute the thought came into her mind, she felt the sharp glance of Mātā Amritānandamayī towards her. Mātā Amritānandamayī was very busy giving darshan to thousands of people there who have gathered, and suddenly her glance turned towards Sunanda, and she called somebody near and pointed to her and said something. Immediately somebody came near and said, Mātā Amritānandamayī is calling her to the stage. So she felt even more ecstatic now. She ran there and she got another hug from her. In recognition of her Nama chanting and the thought of what Bhagwan said of Mātā Amritānandamayī. Now she became deeper in her involvement with Yogi Ramsuratkumar and his name. How rewarding it was. And what was more, those people were very appreciative of her services to Mātā Amritānandamayī. Now, the next thing that happened was, she came to hear, even during the visit of Mātā Amritānandamayī, she had a very disturbing news from home that her father was sick and he had to be rushed to the hospital for an angiogram. And the angiogram revealed that he had many blocks in the heart and he needed immediate open heart surgery. It was a very disturbing news to her. And then that was the time she began to chant Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama fervently and almost all the time, praying and praying, chanting and chanting. And then she even told her parents to begin chanting the name Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And she says, with the glory of the name, they got the right hospital, right surgeon to do it, and the right time to fix the operation. Though she could not go during the time of the operation or the previous day, she got the ticket only the next day. But still, she understood that it was all being done by Bhagwan. And she recalls another strange help from Bhagwan, like how Bhagwan pays meticulously attention to every detail. After 25 years of academic friendship, a friend of Sunanda's husband was visiting Japan. And her husband was getting prepared to go and meet him. And during the meeting, her husband came to know that the friend knew the management very well, the management of the hospital where her father was admitted for operation. Immediately the friend came forward to put in a word to the management. With the result, they got the best services from the hospital. They had to do a lot of paperwork, insurance and all that. Everything became easy because of that. So she is wonderstruck how the Nama could help, could attend to every detail, from the smallest to the biggest detail, so meticulously and arrange so beautifully for her relief. And then she says that she had another experience. It was after that she and her family visited in 2018, the first time, our ashram, and it was an evening time, I remember very well. I was doing a little satsang to some devotees present here from different countries, and she joined. And after that she introduced herself, and I could see that she was already involved with Bhagwan, and she looked ecstatic about her visit to our ashram. And then they began to come. The whole family, because of her, became devotees of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. After her return to Tokyo, you see, for 5 years, she had been trying for a job desperately. But all that time, hundreds of employers she had applied to kept rejecting her. And suddenly, after her return to Tokyo, after her visit to the ashram, a popular brand, Japanese brand, called her and asked her if she could offer her services to their company. It came of its own accord. Who could have been behind it except Yogi Ramsuratkumar, her beloved God? So miracle after miracle. If you call it a miracle, it's a miracle. If you call it grace, it is grace. But they're all extraordinary events that revealed the personality and the divinity of Bhagwan in every aspect of life. Now there is a very interesting incident with which I conclude this. She says her sister visited her once, and then they wanted to go on sightseeing. Only 2 hours from her place, Tokyo, is Mount Fuji San. It's a sacred mountain, one of the 3 sacred mountains of Japan, and the Japanese would come all the way to worship the mountain, just as we worship here Mount Arunachala. But these people had gone only for sightseeing, and they had to reach a downhill town. It's called Kawaguchigo. And in that small town, after their sightseeing of Fuji, they became very hungry and they wanted some food immediately. All the time, whenever people mentioned at home that we have to arrange for this, we have to arrange for that, one constant reply from Sunanda was, "Oh, Bhagwan will see to that. Bhagwan will do something. Don't worry." So her family members began to get used to her Brahmastra. Bhagwan will see to it. Bhagwan will arrange. And true to her faith, they looked for some place in this Kawaguchi-go for some vegetarian food. It's very difficult in the whole of Japan to come across vegetarian food. But strangely, they found an Italian restaurant, the mention of an Italian restaurant, offering some vegetarian options. So they thought that's a place for them. Immediately they rushed there, but there was no Italian restaurant. Instead, to her amazing delight, she found a Tamil name, Kari Amudu, written on a board of this restaurant. She could not believe her eyes. What is it that she was watching? A Tamil word. And then a Japanese couple came. They were young. One was a Japanese chef, well trained in Japanese cooking, which is completely non-vegetarian. And the wife, a yoga teacher, she had visited Rishikesh and learned yoga there. And she had also visited South India. For some reason, she was drawn to South India and its culture and its food. Both were interested in Indian spirituality and Ayurveda. Now, after his wife, the husband, the Japanese chef, he left his job, joined her, and they were running a South Indian restaurant in a place called the Kawaguchigo. Just imagine, of course it's a tourist place, it's a pilgrimage center for all the Japanese and for all the outsiders, a tourist spot. And there they had opened a South Indian vegetarian restaurant and they were running it successfully, but they had started recently, and that is why the mention of their restaurant's name was not there on the online. And of course Sunanda's family people, they were absolutely delighted to find rice, sambar, rasam, vegetable and even poppet. Imagine a South Indian meal, a full meal being offered to them in a place like Kawaguchigo. And of course they got to know each other very well. The Japanese couple said that these people were the first South Indians they had come across after starting this restaurant. They were also delighted for their part, and these people invited them to their house. They would go every few months, they would go to Tokyo to collect some groceries. So Sunanda and her husband invited this Japanese couple home. She had sent me some photographs today afternoon. The Japanese couple eating a full South Indian meal at Sunanda's place. And then Sunanda gave them, presented them with a picture of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. And she taught them his name. Just see how things get arranged. And I believe those people have kept Yogi Ramsuratkumar photograph in their restaurant. Even now it is there, and they light a lamp, they chant his name. Can you believe it? How Bhagwan travels worldwide and draw people to his divinity in unexpected ways. So when I read all these details, I rejoiced so much in the descriptions. I felt that I should narrate it today itself. Everything that happens is unbelievable. So that Bhagwan who became, she says in the end of the article, Sunanda says, Yogi Ramsuratkumar has the knack to make even an ordinary, mundane incident, event, a great experience of glory. Only Yogi Ramsuratkumar can do it. Only his Nama can do it. That every small thing becomes an experience of joy, peace and love. Now that Yogi Ramsuratkumar is here right in front of us, and we shall submit our today's prayer at his feet. Bhagwan, if you can reach out to somebody in far-off places and draw them into your protective fold, why couldn't you do it now when the whole world needs your grace? We have been appealing to you the whole year, day after day after day, begging and begging. And we know you could not keep yourself away from this for too long. You must be doing already some work. The preparation must be going on. We do not know why the situation has come, that there is no doubt the world invited it in some way or the other. And you have often said that my father would use every situation of the world to his advantage, which means drawing people closer to him. We beg you, Bhagwan, for your immediate divine intervention to free the entire humanity from the dreadful grip of this monster virus and bring back a dharmic normalcy in every aspect of life, everywhere in the world. And Bhagwan, kindly remove this panic of the pandemic from the hearts of people and stop the rapid spread of the disease. Please enter the medicines so that they will work and destroy this virus and its variants. And they say many patients affected by COVID are in and around the hospital, unable to get a room or proper treatment because the hospitals are overflowing. Only you can come to our help, come to our rescue. We beg you, Bhagwan, to kindly make rooms available and proper medicine available so that all the people who have been affected by this COVID will get proper treatment, get well soon, recover speedily, and come back home healthy. We beg you, Bhagwan, to save, to protect all those brave soldiers who are in the field fighting the disease at the very risk of their life. We beg you again for a lift to economy, and above all, the glory of your Nama. We saw today how Sunanda has expressed the glory of the name again and again and again. The one line that I liked about her article is, even the smallest event, the smallest insignificant occurrence could be felt as a huge spiritual benefit. Only Bhagwan can do that. Only his Nama can do that. We beg you, Bhagwan, for constant remembrance of this name that is so glorious and rewarding. And please bless us with the attitude of being instrument, a good fitting instrument in your hands to go about our lives. And one more begging to do. Please bless us with that purity of mind when we could see everything that happens in life as a blessing from you. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.
Yogi Ramsuratkumar